Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Place, and yes, I'm in a Japanese fighter. You guys broke me down. Somebody said that the Key series, or Kai, I forget what you want to call these, but the non-zero line is not too bad, and once you get up to a certain tier, it starts to plane off and get a little bit better. Which is good, because I hate this thing. I hate this plane so much. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sure some of you really enjoy the aircraft, but I find that it just has no gunpowder. You have the option of either two 50 cal machine guns or two 20mm cannons, and they're synchronized with the propeller, but the 20s overheat very rapidly. I prefer the machine guns, so I'm running machine guns on this, and I'm running universal ammo, so I'm getting increased chance of fire as well as crit chance. And while it would be nice to have the 20s, I'm going to be so close to people, and the amount of targets I'm going to be engaging, I don't know, I feel like you could choose either and they'll both be effective. Just because it says the gunpowder is better with the 20s doesn't mean it's actually better, because you're going to overheat, and the amount that you're probably going to end up missing, it's, I don't know, I like it better. It's kind of dealer's choice, I think, at this point. So the Kai 43, what is it really good for? Very, very low altitude gameplay, 2,000 foot max ceiling. Are you kidding me? But it'll do exactly what it's supposed to do. It will be a very strong turning fighter. It has a 7-second turn time. Yes, I did not stutter, 7 seconds. But already you can see we've lit that one aircraft on fire, and we're not even going to kill him on this pass, but poof, there it is. The fire finally took him out. And we're doing all right here. We're maintaining the turning fight. We're getting our nose around before they can get their nose around. And even though these are, what are they, I-17s, known for being very maneuverable, we're able to keep it up, with the exception of that BF-110 coming in and ruining our day. The hit point pool on this aircraft is absolutely abysmal, so if anybody wants to go into a head-on engagement with you, you better start maneuvering your tail off, because if you don't, they're going to blow you up in a single run, just because you only have 120 hit points. Ugh. Anyways, this thing just can't handle it. It wants to be in turning fights, it needs to be in the zone, and it needs to be where the kill blob is. And I don't know, the kill blob is kind of a meat grinder, right? And your job as this tourney fighter is to be one of the best blades you can possibly be in the meat grinder and help everybody else out and do your darndest to kill enemy aircraft. Now, because you have such low health and such low gunpowder, one of the things you're going to have as a real challenge is AAA is going to absolutely ruin your aircraft. Tail gunners will absolutely decimate your aircraft. Heavy fighters that decide to come down and do a boom and zoom run will absolutely wreck your aircraft. Sure, you're a very maneuverable fighter, which is great for when you're in a one-on-one turning fight, but if somebody decides to just leave the area and then come back and engage you, you may be a very nimble aircraft that can spin circles in place all day, but you're not actually moving in any particular direction, right? So you're not actually getting that much of a change in orientation. It doesn't matter that you're doing flips in one spot. The fact that that one spot isn't really moving that much in the grand scope of things means that I can pretty much annihilate you with my heavy if I come in with cannons blazing, and even 1 or 2 hits is going to be enough to just decimate this frail airframe. Another thing I noticed is that this aircraft really likes to start on fire, and it also really likes to lose control surfaces, and it's just so weak. I don't know. I mean, I say all this, but you can see here we're actually having a very good match in this airframe. I'm not sure if this is just the circumstances. It is nice having a center objective, and particularly one of the major airfields, which will allow me to be able to heal up as needed. But it's very much a... Oops, see, there was that head-on. I got into a head-on, and fortunately for me, that aircraft isn't controlled by a player. I don't think that was a player. No, it was not. Otherwise, he would have maintained guns on target, and he would have absolutely decimated me with this combination of cannons and machine guns. But once we settle in on the tail of an aircraft, we can usually eliminate it pretty easily, not because of the guns, but because we're going to sit on the tail for an enduring period of time, which is all the more reason that I like the machine guns opposed to the cannons, because if I get settled onto an aircraft like a heavy or a ground attacker, preferably those without a tail gunner, I can sit there all day with my 50 cal machine guns and unload and kill that aircraft outright rather than having to burst him down slowly with my 20s. So, more arguments for me to be using the 50s. However, the Kai 43 version 2, which is the tier 5 aircraft, which I have actually unlocked since doing this video, I'm running the 20s on it, and I'm having decent success in it. It just takes a little bit of a change in tactics. So it really is dealer's choice. I wanted to try both out. It does get a little bit of a bump in the 20s power on the subsequent Kai 43, so it does help. But here this Bish 2 has no tail gunner, and I can just sit here behind him and unload with machine guns and take him out, which is something I would have really struggled to do with the 20s. Although I'm actually overheated here, which doesn't happen too often with 50s, but is possible. And what I've been doing is exactly what I stated at the beginning. We are being the best blade we can possibly be in the meat grinder. We are staying here in this capture zone. We are utilizing the heel of this major airfield, and we have not lost it for the entirety of the battle. And since it is a spawn location, it is allowing our allies who are going out and engaging the enemy's capture zones to continually respawn close to the enemy's objectives from a centralized location, and there's not much they can do about it. Now, the altitude restriction on this airframe is something that I'm not a big fan of. I think I've said it on many of my videos that I hate not having airspeed, and I hate not having altitude performance because it limits what I can engage. And there are these two aircraft sitting over my capture zone, continually destroying my aircraft or dropping bombs and hurting my zone. So I wanted to get up here and I wanted to cause some damage. It is possible, but you can see my airspeed is extremely low at 110 miles an hour. I'm just floating through the sky here. I'm saving my boost to be able to keep my nose up when I get my guns on target, and I managed to help put in some of the finishing shots into the Do 217, but this isn't where I'm supposed to be. I should be much lower, and I should be engaging some of the aircraft that are at my altitude block, which is 2,000 feet and below. That heavy is moving out of the area, and here he already has two aircraft on him. This game's pretty much handled at this point, and this is squall line, so every aircraft we kill is one that's not coming back. So we'll dive down onto this Focke-Wulf 189C ground attacker with a twin boom tail. Put in some heavy damage, managed to take out the aircraft, and now we wait and see who else is going to try and tempt fate in our zone. We see that there's a bit of a furball going on over here towards the enemy spawn area. I do not constitute this as spawn camping at this point because everybody who is spawned now will not be respawning again, so it is no longer a spawn point. It just happens to be where the enemy's at, and I would rather make the fight a little bit more uneven by adding a player into the mix opposed to just bot v bot. We just got air supremacy. I've got winged legend for taking out that one player, and that's the end of the match. So let's hit up the end results screen and see how well we fared and whether or not we can finally get out of this airframe. Come on, times 3, where are we at? 5,778. Okay, where does that put us on the tech tree? How close are we to the next airframe? 2,000 away. So close. I'm really looking forward to getting out of this airframe, and it's not even just this airframe. I would like to get out of the 43s entirely and get into the 61. The 61 is where it's really going to start to come into its own. It's going to have a combination of cannons and machine guns, so you're not going to be forced to make a choice. And I think it goes without saying, if you have not followed a lot of players on their video series, the 84 is an absolute monster with a combination of two 30s and two 20s. You're not only up tiering one set of guns, but you're up tiering both sets of guns. So it's a massive improvement. But when you're looking at the 43-1, these 20 millimeter cannons, while they do offer a little bit of a boost in damage for a burst, they overheat so rapidly that I'm not sure that the extra 18 points of damage per second is really going to tip the scale enough to make it that much better. As a result, I just suggest going with the 50s. They give you more consistent damage. You can offload for a lot longer, and in addition to that, running universal ammunition is much cheaper, so you can light aircraft on fire. You can get higher crit chances just because of the volume of fire. But these 20s, these 20 millimeter Ho 3 TAC 2s, are just not going to be nearly as competitive, I feel, as these 50 millimeter machine guns. Getting to the 43 is going to be a little bit different. I'm hoping. I haven't tried out these cannons, but if they turn out to just be the exact same guns as we saw on the 43 TAC 1 Hayahusa, I'm going to be disappointed, and I'll be glad to work my way through this airframe as well. I don't know what it is. I think it's a very situational aircraft. We got lucky in that last match that those other players weren't able to counter me. I am a very nimble, very turny fighter with an 8-second turn time. Oh wait, sorry, wrong airframe. With a 7-second turn time. Woo! But yeah, I've had really bad matches in it just because the survivability is just so abysmal. 120 hit points, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing, and this aircraft loves to start on fire. It takes crit damage very easily. It's very much a glass cannon. The problem is you don't have much of a cannon to speak of yet, and that's kind of where my disappointment comes from. Also, the altitude performance is extremely restrictive. You can see here the Hayahusa Mark II jumps up to 3,300 feet, while this one's stuck at 2,300 feet. That's a massive downgrade between the two. But then you start to get better as you go up the line. We get up to 5,000 feet, we get up to 6,000 feet, 7,000 feet, and it just makes it capable. And oddly enough, you drop down when you get to the 162. But the point is, I don't want to climb into space. I'm okay with having a nimble fighter that can't climb up to high altitude because I feel that that's kind of game breaking. But having an altitude restriction below 2,000 is abysmal. Although we were able to climb up and kill that one bomber. So I guess it's not too bad, but I am glad that we're pretty much done with this aircraft. But I am not willing to invest free XP into it yet because I have other aircraft that need a lot of modules unlocked. So I am going to hold on to that free XP for those higher tiered aircraft, especially the German ones, because man, grinding those guns can be a pain. So if you liked the video, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you liked and what you didn't like down in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.